A few weeks ago, I made a pair of panel clamps and they've been working great. But of course, it means I've glued up a lot of panels. Now I need to get them all trimmed to the same size. And I think there's a few ways I can do it. Option one is the mitre saw, but my machine doesn't quite have the capacity, so you'd have to flip every board over. I don't really like that method. Option two is with the track saw, and I have a square for it. The trouble is, I've got quite a small workbench, so setting it all up on here with something sacrificial underneath is definitely not my preferred way of doing it. So my preferred method of cross cutting is using the mitre gauge on the table saw. The trouble is, with these panels, you have to have the mitre gauge so far back it hangs off the table and doesn't work. Yeah, very unstable, not very safe. Now, the way I normally get around this though, is I flip the mitre gauge round and put it in the wrong way. Now though, the fence is going through the blade, so you have to readjust that. With it round like this, it works okay, but I still think I can do better. So I'm going to build myself a dedicated panel sled out of some plywood, and I've bought a cheap runner off Amazon. You can make your own, but these adjustable ones I think are so much better, and they're so cheap these days, so I'll put a link to this down below. Now this bit of wood is far too big. I think I'm going to do my sled at 80 centimetres long, and for how wide, I think I'll do it just as wide as this mitre bar. So I'm going to get those two bits cut off this, and then we'll have the final dimensions of our sled. Now I'm going to get the fence moved over so it's about 1 centimetre off the blade, get that locked in place and get the blade down. Now, get that board we just cut, put it up against the fence, grab my mitre bar and put it over where the mitre slot is, get a square, get it square and lined up. Now I can mark out where the holes need to go to get this attached. This bar has some little threaded portions on it, so I'm going to dig out some bolts that fit in them. These are large headed bolts, so I don't need a washer, but what I will need to do is recess them. So I'm going to grab a Forstner bit and drill down with that first. The bolts I'm using are M6s or 6mm. I want to have a bit of a wiggle room in there, so I've got myself a 7mm drill bit, and now I'm going to drill down on the points that these Forstner bits left. Before I get this mitre bar secured onto the sled, I'm going to get it adjusted in the mitre slot because it has these little bits of plastic which you can wind in and out so that we get a lovely tight fit in there. It's easier to do it now than after I fitted it. This bar fits in there perfectly now, so grab my board over line it up with my holes and get these bolts put in, but we're only going to loosely tighten them for now. I have a little bit of wiggle room in this for adjustment, so I'm going to try and get it as square as possible to start with. So I'm going to bring the fence over, square it to that, and then we can get these tightened up. So if you remember, I positioned this so it's a centimetre over the other side of the blade. So what I can do now is pull this whole thing back, raise the blade and trim off this last piece, and then it's going to be perfectly square to the blade. Yeah, that's going to work nicely, but it's going to need a fence to reference off. And what I have is a square piece of wood. So what I'm going to do is get it attached at this end from underneath just with one screw for now. Now I can get the sled put back on, and what I'm going to do is square this fence up to the blade. So I've got a square I trust pushed up against the blade, and I'm squaring the fence to that. Now, I'm happy with that, so I've got a clamp. Let's get this fence clamped into place, and then I can drive some screws up from underneath to lock it in position. Right. Let's actually get a panel on here, trim it down and see how it looks. Let's have a look. That looks pretty damn good. Now you could do the 5-cut method and get it into hundredths of a millimetre perfect. If it's square enough on this big square, that's square enough for me. One more thing I think I will do though is get some clear wax on to seal it up and just make it slide a bit better. So that's it all done. I can't believe after years of woodworking and watching Keith Brown using his panel sled, thinking I must make one, I finally got round to doing it. And I think this is going to make life so much easier. Such a simple thing, but so useful. So thank you for watching. Thanks to my patrons, and please subscribe for more videos.